Good evening everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grammar Reading with me. So I believe this is day 4. Okay, so for today's grammar editing text is actually taken from the 2020 O-Level Express English paper. Okay, so as you can remember, editing is parked under paper 1 section A. Okay, right, so this text today is going to be about the Great Wall of China. I'm not sure how many of you have been there before. I have personally never been there before, but as you should know by now, even if you have no experience with the topic that you are being given for editing, you can still get full marks, all 10 marks, okay? So just remember, out of these 10 lines over here that are given to you, only 8 of them have errors, 2 of them do not have any errors, and if you have no errors, if you find that there's no errors, right, what you need to do is just to put a tick. Okay, just put a tick. Very simple, huh? Okay, so with that in mind, let's begin proper. Okay, so let's look at the first line here, line 0. When I first saw the Great Wall of China, it looked like a rather modest garden wall. So modest, but here it just means humble. So nothing too grand, nothing too elaborate, nothing too complex, just a very simple, very modest garden wall winding through the hills in the distance. Okay, so it is only when I came closer to it that I blah blah blah. Okay, so there is an error here in line 1. Let's see whether you're able to spot it. I'll give you 3 seconds to look at it. 3, 2, 1. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's actually over here. I almost highlighted, but I want you to remember that you have to circle, so I'm going to circle instead. Okay, this word here, where. Okay, so the right answer is very similar to this word where. Is actually when. It was only when I came closer to it. So when is always used to refer to a specific incident or time or some kind of event. Alright, so in this case we're using when because it is only when the author walked closer to the Great Wall of China that something happened. Alright, where in this case will not make any sense because we're using this word here to throw back, to recount a specific incident, or a specific event, not to point out a location, not to point out a place. Alright, so let's move on. It's only when I came closer to it that I realized walking along the Great Wall of China, of course, wouldn't be as easy as it seemed. Alright, so this is the second error here, seem. Okay, so there are 2 possibilities here. Alright, there's 2 possibilities here. Allow me to just write it here in blue. It's either going to be seems or seemed. Past tense of seem is seemed, ed, right? Not t, not sent or whatever like that. Okay, so it's either seems or seemed. The reason why is definitely an error, the reason why is definitely not SEEM as it is right now, is because of subject-verb agreement, right? SVA, subject-verb agreement. Okay, the subject here in this case is it. Of course, it refers to the one Great Wall of China, so in one wall, right? So it. So in this case, it is clearly singular. This is clearly singular. Oh, there's only one thing here, alright? One only. So in this case, because it's singular, this has to be an S, seems. But, right, remember, I also argued that it might be in the past tense. So the answer might also be seemed. So the question that you might be asking yourself now is, so which one do I choose, right? Is it going to be the present tense? Alright, is it going to be the present tense? Allow me to just write it down. Is it going to be the present tense or the past tense? Alright, we have to pick one, 50-50, right? There's no gambling here, there's no guessing game here. We need to know the rule. Okay? So let's look carefully at this sentence and the way that it's constructed, alright? So we repeat the sentence, alright? It was only when I came closer to the Great Wall that I realized walking along it wouldn't be as easy as it seemed. We circle seem, right? We don't know whether it's going to be past tense or present tense, correct? So the reason why, I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why the correct answer is actually the past tense version of the word seemed. Alright, it's actually the past tense seemed. It's because we are throwing back. We are actually recounting. This is a personal recount. Right? This author is actually referring to an incident in the past. Okay? So in his mind, right from the very start, we look at line 0 over here, right from the very start, he's referring to an incident in his past when he first saw the Great Wall of China, when he first visited the Great Wall of China for the very first time, maybe when he was a child. Okay? So this whole incident is already set in the past. It's as if you're having coffee with him or her, alright, and this person is just talking about the good old days, right? The good old days. So this is like a flashback. If you don't like the word throwback, you can just think of this as a flashback. It's a blast to the past, alright? It can be seems, S-E-E-M-S, only if, alright, for instance, allow me to use some of my horrible drawing here, right? So let's say this is you, alright, and oh man, my drawing is so bad. This is the other person you're talking to, okay? This is the author here, okay? And perhaps now the author whips out a photo of the Great Wall of China. Alright, just imagine this is the photo of the Great Wall of China. Okay, and then when he is sharing with you about his past, right, his flashback to his childhood when he climbed the Great Wall of China for the first time, he is pointing, right? He is pointing to this photo. He's pointing to the photo saying, it is not as easy as it seems based on the photo I have in front of us right now. Okay? But in this case, we can assume that there's no photo or no picture from his phone. He's just telling you verbally, and he's just thinking about the good old days. Alright? And because of that, it should be rightfully in the past tense. It will make more sense for it to be in the past tense. Okay, we cannot assume that there's like a picture in front of the both of you, and the author has taken out the picture and is pointing to the picture and saying, it's not as easy as it seems, right? Because based on line 0 here, it really feels like it's a flashback. Okay. So with that in mind, the right answer is seemed, past tense. Alright, and because of that, I'm going to erase this, not to confuse all of you. Okay. So in this case, the error here is not SVA, but rather this is a tense error. Okay, this is a tense error, past tense, present tense. Right, this is actually a tense error. And okay, let's move on to line 3. The steps were very steep, which made the wall strenuously to walk on. Alright, this should be super obvious. You should have sense by now that something's a bit off. Okay, so the mistake here is this word strenuously. Okay, and this mistake is a word form mistake, WF. Okay, word form mistake. Okay, this form that ends with the ly over here is what we call an adverb. I walked happily, I sang badly, blah blah blah, alright, etc. etc. So adverbs, what they do is that they describe, most of the time they describe a verb. Okay, so for example, I burped loudly. So loudly is describing how I burped. Burp is an action, it's a verb. Okay, in this case, there is no verb here. Do you see any verbs here next to strenuously? No. Okay, in fact, the verb is after the so-called adverb strenuously. Okay, it makes no sense for this strenuously here to be in its current form, which is an adverb. Think carefully, what is this word doing? What is it describing? It's actually describing the thing on its left, the wall, correct? This wall thingy over here, the Great Wall. It's actually describing the Great Wall, correct? And when we just use a regular word to describe a noun, like the Great Wall of China, we should use an adjective. So the adjective form of this word would be one where there is no ly, just like this, strenuous. Okay, today's PE session was very strenuous because we had to run 2.4 kilometers. Mr. Tan made us run 2.4 kilometers and it was so strenuous. Alright, so this is a word form error, and so the right answer is just strenuous. Okay, so this is a word form error. Let me just write it down, WF. Let's move on. Yeah. So the wall rose sharply, and along the way, there were many lookout posts and gateways, okay, which offered spectacular views. Alright, I am convinced right now that there's not going to be any error. So let me just put a tick here. Of course, if I read on and realize that there might be an error here, we can always come back to it. Okay? Across the countryside, I get there as early as possible, not just to miss the crowds. Okay, at this point in time, remember what I've said from the very start, line 0, this is a flashback. Okay, this is a flashback, the good old days, right? So logically, this should be in the past tense. Because it's a flashback, right? It's a past tense. Okay, so there is one verb here that is in the wrong tense. I hope you can see which one it is. Give you a few seconds. Alright, time's up. It's this verb here. Okay, get. It's in the wrong tense. Alright, so this is a tense error. We want it to be in the past tense. The past tense of get is not getted, it's got. G-O-T. Got. Okay, so this is a tense error. Once again, just let me highlight it so that we're all on the same page. And now we move on, yeah? Okay, so I got there as early as possible, not just to miss the crowds, okay, but also to avoid the heat. Alright, seems alright. It was quite chilly in an early morning, so I wore warm clothes. Okay, so there is an issue here. Okay, there's an issue here. You may not be able to spot it immediately, but the more you look at it, the weirder it gets. Okay, it's actually this over here, this word A-N, N. Alright, so I would argue that the wrong article, remember N is an example of an article, yeah? It comes before a noun, okay, or this noun phrase here, early morning, okay? So I would argue that the wrong article is used. N is simply too general. It's too general. Too general here. Okay, we are already describing the early morning. We're making reference to it here. We're saying it's very chilly, very cold, correct? So in this case, a more specific article that we can use is THE, in the early morning. Okay, in the early morning, I tend to fall sick because the weather is cold. It's weird to say in an early morning I tend to fall sick, right? Simply too general. We're making reference to a very specific incident, a very specific event that we are already describing here. So this would be an article error, okay? So it was quite chilly in the early morning, so I wore warm clothes, but later in the day, I needed plenty of sunscreen and water too. Okay, there does not seem to be any errors here unless you can find one that I missed. So for that reason, I'm going to put a tick here for the time being. Alright, just let me put a tick here. Oops, okay. Okay, so guys, there's a tick. When I reached the highest part of the wall, okay, it felt as though I was in top of the world. Let me read that to you again. It felt as though I was in top of the world. Sounds weird, right? Okay, so there is a preposition error here. Okay, preposition, alright? Let me just use a short form, preposition error here. This is a very common error that we also see at the primary school level. Okay, we are on top of something, right? We're on top of something. It's as if you are standing on top of it. Your position on the object, on top of it, above it. Okay, if you're in top, if you're in the world, alright, it means that you're just part of it. You're just inside it, you're just part of it, just one of the billions of people that we have on this world. And that would not make sense because of the word top here. Okay, so we often use the preposition on to be accompanied by top. Okay, so it's on top. And this is also a good chance for me to just remind you that reading is very important, because we are exposed to this kind of idioms, alright, this kind of idioms, alright, idioms. Idioms are simply just expressions that are part of our daily lives, alright, that we hear a lot. For instance, a common idiom could be like, money makes the world go round, that kind of thing, okay? So, on top of the world, you hear that a lot. It means that nothing can stop you, you're unstoppable. It's as if you have conquered everything, you're just the king of the world, alright? So that's on top of the world, okay? So that is the right preposition, on top, the king, okay? With nobody else in sight, it was the wonderful feeling, okay? My whole trip was an extraordinary blah blah blah. So line 9 has the exact same error that we already did for line 6. Okay, it has the exact same error as line 6. Are you able to find it? It's actually the article the. Okay, in this case, it's wrong. This is the wrong article to be using. You should be using a. Okay, let me just write it down first. So this is an article error. Oops, sorry about that. This is an article error. Okay, let me just write down for the previous one, it was a preposition error. The reason why it's an article error is because this is too specific an article to be using to be attached to wonderful feeling, because this wonderful feeling was not explored before that. It's new to us readers, correct? So it makes no sense for you to use such a specific article that you have not introduced beforehand. Okay, this is too specific an article. Okay, so for instance, let's think of an example. Let's say you are telling your form teacher about a good deed that one of your friends did. So for instance, your classmate Jonathan, right, he picked up a wallet, a stranger's wallet, correct? You cannot say Jonathan picked up the stranger's wallet, because we have no idea what the wallet is like. We have never heard of this incident before. It's brand new to the form teacher, correct? The listener. So we will say Jonathan did a good thing. He picked up a stranger's wallet and passed it to the police. Understand? Right? Because it makes no sense to use a specific article in this case, because it has not been talked about before. It's brand new to the listener. Right, so we're almost there, line 9, okay? So based on this, I already have 2 ticks, lines 4 and 7, so I would expect line 10 to have an error as well. Fingers crossed there's really one, okay? So my whole trip was an extraordinary experiences, giving me endless memories and stories to share, blah blah blah. Okay. Right, so this one is should be quite straightforward. The article end here, okay, the article end here, and the verb was here, okay, would suggest to you that we are going to be talking about a singular thing, correct? It's a singular thing, and we're introducing something singular here. Sorry, pardon me, my bad. Okay, let's just look at an. Right, so this is going to be a singular object that we're going to be introducing here, correct? And this singular object is going to be the extraordinary experiences. If it's going to be singular, why is there an S here? So this is a mistake, correct? So this is actually why is this plural, right? Question mark. So this should be a singular noun. So in this case, it should be experience. Just one experience, which makes sense, right? If you think about it, because how many times did this person try to climb the Great Wall of China? We don't really know, to be frank, but based on this flashback that he had, it seems like there's only one, we're only talking about one experience of climbing the Great Wall of China. Correct? Okay? So this N over here, this article N here gives us a very big clue into the singularity of the object that we're going to describe here, which in this case is experience. Right? John ate an apple. Singular apple, right? One apple. Okay, right? So just to take this opportunity as well to recap with you this whole article thing that has happened, that has occurred many times as an error throughout this text. So just remember that in front of your noun, so let's say this is a noun, okay? This box here is a noun, correct? In front of a noun, what we usually have is a determiner. So please refer to your green books if you have forgotten what I'm talking about, alright? So a determiner can take the form of an article, can take the form of a quantifier, or a possessive. So I give you a very simple example, okay? So let's say the noun we're using is ball, okay? This is the noun ball. So if we're talking about an article here, a ball, we're talking about a quantifier here, you can say one ball. If we're talking about possessive here, you can say his ball. Okay? So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. So his is an example of a possessive. The quantifier here is one, and the article here is a. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, we've completed this 2020 editing exercise from the O-levels itself. This is, frankly speaking, as an upper secondary student, this is not very difficult. Okay, difficulty level wise, to be frank with you, I will put this at perhaps a 6 out of 10. I'll put this at 6 out of 10. Okay, so I hope this video has helped you in some way, and I hope to see you soon.